I remember the sound first, the tick of the clock on the solicitor's wall. Sharp, precise, merciless. It filled the silence like judgment itself. I sat there, my thrift shop cardigan itching against my skin, the rain still clinging to my sleeves from outside. Across the polished table, my Aunt Victoria adjusted her pearl earrings, the ones she only wore when she wanted to look respectable. Beside her, Uncle Thomas Whitmore checked his watch, exhaling in that theatrical way that always made me feel small. The solicitor cleared his throat, spectacles glinting. "Miss Amelia Grant," he said, his voice crisp as parchment. "Your grandmother, Mrs. Eleanor Whitmore, has left a rather unconventional condition for your inheritance." I swallowed hard. My grandmother's name carried weight. In Somerset, it was whispered like royalty. The Iron Dame. The woman who built Whitmore Holdings from nothing but sheer willpower and ruthlessness. To me, she'd always been distant, a marble statue in pearls. He continued, "To inherit the estate and accompanying assets, you must reside at Ashbourne Estate for 30 consecutive nights, alone. No phone, no modern conveniences, no assistance. You may bring only the clothes you're wearing." For a heartbeat, the words didn't land. Then they struck, one by one, like stones. /////. Victoria leaned forward, her voice a silk-wrapped dagger. "Surely, that's not safe. A young woman, all alone in that ruin?" Thomas smirked. "She'll last 2 nights at best." I looked down at my trembling hands. It wasn't courage that made me nod, it was something quieter. Defiance. My grandmother had never believed I was strong. Perhaps this was her final way of proving she was right, or wrong. "I'll do it," I said. The following morning, I left Bristol before dawn. The sky was bruised violet, the motorcar crawling through mist-heavy lanes until we reached the rusted gates of Ashbourne Estate. The chauffeur stopped without a word. The iron creaked as I pushed it open, a slow, aching sound that felt almost human. The house stood ahead, skeletal and vast, its chimneys like watchtowers. Ivy strangled the stone walls. The garden was a wilderness. I stepped inside the grounds, and the gate clanged shut behind me. It was the loneliest sound I'd ever heard. Rain began again, thin, persistent needles against my face. My boots sank into mud as I approached the door. When I finally pushed it open, a sigh of stale air met me. The grand foyer was swallowed in shadow, dust draped every surface. The chandelier above hung heavy with cobwebs. My footsteps echoed through emptiness. No light. No warmth. No sign of life. ////. The first night was the hardest. I scavenged every corner for food, nothing but broken crockery and a rusted tin of tea. I tried the taps, they coughed brown water before dying. The wind hissed through cracks in the windows, carrying whispers that made the hairs on my arms rise. I wrapped myself in a curtain and curled on a sagging sofa, the dark pressing in like a living thing. At some point near midnight, I heard footsteps above. Slow, deliberate. I held my breath. The floorboards creaked again. Then silence. Maybe rats, maybe ghosts. Either way, I didn't move until dawn. When sunlight finally touched the room, it looked less like a tomb and more like a wounded animal, still, waiting, not yet ready to die. By the third day, hunger gnawed like a beast. I searched again through the pantry, moving jars, boxes, broken glass, until something glinted in the corner. A jar of peaches. Perfect, golden, untouched by time. My fingers shook as I prized the lid open. The sweet scent hit me like memory, summer air, laughter in her garden, my grandmother humming to herself. I ate slowly, reverently, tears blurring my vision. It wasn't just food. It was a message. She'd left it there, for me. That night, when the storm rolled in and thunder rattled the windows, I whispered into the dark. "What do you want me to find?" The house answered with silence, but I could feel it, something watching, waiting. Days turned to weeks. I learned the rhythm of the house. The groan of pipes that weren't alive. The sigh of wind through the eaves. The faint scent of lavender that appeared only at dusk. I began keeping a journal of my own, sketches of hallways, notes about noises, clues that might lead somewhere. One afternoon, I wandered into the study, her domain. Heavy oak desk, drawers locked, ledgers stacked like fortresses. But amid the accounts and deeds, one shelf looked different. Poetry, gardening guides, novels. I touched a volume on wildflowers. It fell forward with a soft thud, lighter than it should have been. Inside, hollow. A hidden latch clicked. The bookshelf swung open. Behind it, a narrow passage. My candle flickered against damp stone as I stepped through. There, on a small desk, lay a single leather-bound journal. My first spring in Somerset, it began, the ink faded but elegant. I swore I'd never be ordinary. I sat on the floor and read until the candle melted to a stub. In those pages, she wasn't the Iron Dame, she was a girl who dreamed of freedom. A girl who wanted to paint, to love, to feel alive before ambition hardened her. The next day I found another, tucked beneath a nursery chest, love letters, sketches, heartbreak. Then another, behind a false panel in the fireplace, her rise, her sacrifices, her loneliness. Each journal changed something inside me. I stopped seeing Ashbourne Estate as punishment. It was her story, and she'd hidden it like treasure. By the 15th night, I'd found ways to survive. I built fires from broken furniture, trapped rainwater in old buckets, foraged wild berries. My palms blistered, my back ached, but I'd never felt more capable. Yet the loneliness cut deep. Some nights, I'd imagine her voice in the halls, firm, distant, urging me to look closer. I'd wake with her name on my lips. Once, half asleep, I saw her reflection in the cracked mirror, smiling faintly before fading. I told myself it was exhaustion, but part of me believed she was still guiding me. On the 21st day, Victoria and Thomas arrived for their inspection. The door groaned open and Victoria's perfume filled the air, sharp and expensive. "Well," she said, glancing around. "Still standing, I see." "Barely," Thomas muttered. "Looks like she's gone feral." I stood by the fireplace, soot-stained hands gripping the poker. "Funny," I said. "You expected me to crumble." Victoria's smile faltered. "This place isn't meant for people like you, darling." I met her eyes. "No. It's meant for people strong enough to see beyond its walls." She said nothing. When they left, I felt the shift. I wasn't the timid niece anymore. /////. By the 27th night, the house began to change with me. The air felt lighter, the rooms less menacing. I'd grown to love its imperfections, the crack in the banister, the faint humming of wind through the attic pipes. And that's when I found the final clue. In the last journal, a single line beneath a pressed violet, "Look for the cradle of fire, where warmth hides truth." The hearth. I tore apart the main fireplace, brick by brick, until my fingers bled. And then, a hollow sound. A loose stone gave way, revealing a small iron safe. My pulse thundered. Inside lay a sealed envelope and a folded document. I knew before I opened it, this was the real will. When Victoria and Thomas arrived on the final day, the air was heavy with storm. Their car tires crunched across the gravel like the approach of vultures. They entered without knocking, umbrellas dripping on the marble. 30 days, Victoria announced, feigning sympathy. "We're impressed you lasted this long." Thomas unfolded his clipboard. "We'll need proof you didn't leave the property." "You'll have it," I said, stepping aside. "But first, There's something you should see. On the table lay the journals, 12 of them, arranged in order, and the letter. I handed the will to Victoria. She skimmed it, her expression freezing. This can't be real. It's her handwriting, Thomas whispered. It is, I said softly. She left everything to me, but with a purpose. The Ashbourne Foundation. For art, for history, for the truth she hid. Their faces crumpled. I opened the letter and read aloud. My dearest Amelia, if you have endured, then you have understood. Wealth means little without wisdom, and strength means nothing without kindness. Teach them what I could not. The mansion, the fortune, the burden, they are yours to heal. Eleanor Whitmore. When I finished, the fire crackled loud enough to fill the silence. Victoria's eyes shone, not with fury, but something else. Shame. Thomas dropped his clipboard. She planned this, he murmured. Yes, I said. And she was right about all of us. A year later, Ashbourne Estate was alive again. The ballroom echoed with laughter, sunlight spilled across the polished floors. I walked through the halls, my heels clicking on marble that once swallowed my footsteps in dust. The Ashbourne Foundation had grown into something real, a home for young artists, historians, dreamers. The Grand Study now served as a gallery for local painters, the East Wing housed restoration workshops. The old house that had nearly broken me was now breathing again. Victoria managed event planning, her charm finally used for something honest. Thomas ran the fundraising office, tireless, driven, strangely gentle these days. I'd even caught him laughing once. We weren't friends exactly, but we were family of a kind. Sometimes, when the meetings end and the staff go home, I stay behind. I light a single candle and read her journals again. The ink trembles in the low light, like her voice still speaking through time. I think she'd be proud. Not because I survived, but because I changed. /////. One evening, I stood on the terrace watching the sun set behind the hills of Somerset. The air was golden, the gardens humming with life. And in the window's reflection, for just a moment, I saw her, standing beside me. Same pearls, same steady gaze. I didn't flinch this time. Thank you, I whispered. The image faded, leaving only my own reflection. A woman I barely recognized, stronger, steadier, alive. They say inheritance is what we receive when someone dies. But mine was what began when I finally started to live. Because the truth is, Ashbourne Estate was never cursed. It was lonely. Waiting for someone brave enough to listen. And I did. So if you ever find yourself standing in the ruins of something you don't yet understand, listen. The walls might be whispering your next beginning. /////. Thank you for listening to my story. It means the world to share it with you. If it moved you, please give this video a like and hit that subscribe button. It helps me keep telling stories like this one. Stay strong and I'll see you in the next one.